Elizabeth at A Literary Princess, and it has certainly been a while. So I'm here to do my February wrap-up. I am first going to give a little life update, then I will discuss the book that I DNF'd, and then the 4 that I actually read. Yes, I only read 4 books this month. So let's talk about the life update first, and of course feel free to skip if you're like, Elizabeth, I don't care about your life, tell me about the books. So I was supposed to take my qualifying exam for my PhD program in January. I freaked out about 7 hours in and could not continue, so it was rescheduled for February 16th. So I spent a full 24 hours awake and working on these 3 essays for the qualifying exams, because that is the time frame we get. We get 24 hours. So I did that, and then I had the oral exam on Monday the 27th. This is Wednesday. It was the Monday before this was posted. I think that's the 27th. And I found out that I passed, yay! But I was not filming videos basically since the beginning of February because I have just been so stressed and overwhelmed with this whole thing. And even after the 24-hour writing period was done, I knew I still had to have the oral defense with my committee, and I was nervous for that. So literally everything has fallen by the wayside, including making YouTube videos, including reading, hence why I've only read 4 books in February, and also cleaning my house, which is now disgusting, and I'm doing that this afternoon. So yeah, it has been a month. I had very ambitious TBR for February. It did not happen at all. We'll talk about that now. I have 1 book that I DNF'd, 1 book that I was supposed to finish that I then did not, and then the 4 books that I actually read. So let's actually get into that. February was Feb Regency, an event where you read books written during the Regency in February, and I had grand plans. I was going to participate in the group read-along of Evelina by Frances Burney. I was going to read Ivanhoe by Walter Scott, and I was possibly going to start Cecilia by Frances Burney if I had time. None of that happened. So I did start Evelina, and I have read Evelina before, and I really like it. It's a great book. But I just did not have the time to get into it. So I ultimately DNF'd this. I mean, only a few letters in. I think Evelina had just gotten to London when I was like, okay, I'd read a little bit during some of the reading sprints early on in the event, and then I just couldn't anymore. I DNF'd Evelina. I will reread this someday, but I was thinking that if I wanted to read Cecilia for March of the Mammoths, then forcing myself to reread Evelina was probably not the best idea. So I just DNF'd it for now, but I still love it. I still want to reread it. It's still a great book. Next is another one that I started and did not finish, but I will be finishing it in March, and that is my George Eliot project, Read Adam Bede. I am like 2 chapters in. Yeah, I'm not even 2 chapters in. I am on chapter 2, and it just wasn't happening. It wasn't happening at all. So I will be reading this in March, but am I kind of disappointed in myself that I fell off this early on in the project? Absolutely. But it is what it is, you know. I'll finish it in March. Now on to the books that I actually did finish. The first up is one that I started in January, and it's a reread, and I'm not sure why it took me as long as it did to read this, because it's one of my favorite books. This is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I am teaching this for the Victorian section of my British literature class, so I figured I would do a quick reread, and a quick reread turned into a literal month of me being stuck at Lowood and then finally just finishing it in like 3 days. It was ridiculous. I don't know what's wrong with me. I adore Jane Eyre. I don't know why this took so long. Disappointed in myself. Just because, like, I know I can read this quickly because I have read this quickly. I mean, the first time I ever read it, I was like up all night because I was so invested in it. So I'm not sure what happened. I think I'm just not in much of a reading mood because of these exams. And so it took me forever, but I did finish it. Next up is the only read I have for Feb Regency, and it wasn't even on my TBR, and I literally just reread it in December. So you're probably gonna be like, Elizabeth, why? This is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I taught this in the unit on the romantics for my class. And I don't know, it was like the week before I was supposed to be teaching it, and I was like, even though I just reread this, I need to reread it again because I have no idea what I'm gonna be talking about. So that's all of my green tabs is like spots that I wanted my students to potentially look at in class. I still enjoyed this. I mean, I literally just read it in December. It was like 2 months ago. So it was still a 4-star read. Still really enjoyed it. Had a great talk with my kids about it. I will be talking about that in a video on what I'm teaching in my Brit Lit class. But yeah, 4 stars. And Jane Eyre was 5 stars, by the way. I don't think I said that, but yeah, one of my favorite books of all time, 5 stars. Hey, and now we get to the last 2 books, and they are not rereads. So I did actually read some new things in February. This is my Fairy Tale Friday read for the month. This is Snow and Rose by Emily Winfield Martin. It is a retelling of Snow White and Rose Red. It is a middle grade book, beautifully illustrated. Let me see if I can... Absolutely stunning. I mean, look at the cover. Oh, I love it. I really enjoyed this so much. I read it in one day, which was great. And it's just such a nice little retelling, and the illustrations are so gorgeous. I will have a Fairy Tale Friday blog post on my blog coming out about this. I meant to get it up in February, and that did not happen, much like basically everything else I planned for February. So... but that will be there, hopefully this Friday. But yeah, 4 stars, really enjoyed this. And then the last book that I had was on my Kindle. It was an e-arc. This is Nocturne by Alyssa Wees. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name right. I'm sorry, as usual, I can't pronounce things. So this is a historical fantasy set in Chicago in the Great Depression, focused on Grace, who is a ballerina. She gets promoted to the role of prima ballerina because of a new patron to the ballet who specifically wants her promoted, and then she has to go live with him, and he's weird and mysterious and clearly not human. I thought it was going to be a retelling of the Phantom of the Opera. It's not. It has elements of the Phantom of the Opera. It also has elements of Beauty and the Beast and Death and the Maiden, but it's really completely its own thing. I enjoyed this quite a bit. It's very beautifully written. A lot of people would call it purple prose, which I guess it is, but I enjoyed it. It's a story very focused on music and dancing, and I think that very lyrical and lush writing works well for that. So this was just released in February, I think on the 21st, so that's why I had an arc. I have a review up on my blog if you would like to see more of my thoughts on it. But overall, I really enjoyed this, and I gave this 4 stars. That is what I read, or in some cases did not read, in February. Let me know down in the comments below. Have you read any of these? What did you think? What did you read in February? It has been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.